Hello, welcome to Encore. I'm Richelle Harrison Plesse. Coming up on today's show, the best of Paris Fashion Week. From futuristic romance at Dior and slinky skin-bearing metallics at Saint Laurent to human backpacks at Rick Owens, we cast our eye over this season's most fabulous fashion shows. But the spectacle is not just for the established names, it's also a chance to shine the spotlight on some up-and-coming talent. Joining me in the studio today, Jenny Mannerheim, Artistic Director of the label Each Other. Jenny, thanks so much for being on the show today. Now, you've crisscrossed Paris from show to show over the past week. That's a lot of champagne, canapes and outfit changes, isn't it?
It is actually, yeah. This week is great. I'm having like all my best partners here for Fashion Week. And we're also, after the fashion show, we're doing like our sales. So we have all our clients, all the buyers from all the, you know, from all our like stores in the whole world.
Right, so it's been...
So, yeah.
Busy, but lots of fun.
It's busy, but it's great.
Great. Well, what about the collections that stood out for you this season?
From the shows, from different designers. I'm gonna be a bit classic, but I really like Le Mer, because I think, like with Each Other, with my brand, I really like to explore these ideas of femininity and like womanhood. And I think he had this really nice vision about women and girls. Like, it just felt very beautiful. I loved the feeling. It had this kind of dream girl pace.
Well, it sounds beautiful. Well, let's take a look at some of the highlights from the Paris runways for Spring/Summer 2016. First up, Chanel drew inspiration from the glamorous golden age of flying, turning the Grand Palais Museum into an airport for its so-called Chanel Airline collection. Dior staged a beautiful show with a massive flower-covered dome as the backdrop, featuring no less than 300,000 blooms. Raf Simons described the collection as classic and feminine, yet oddly futuristic and strangely romantic. Fashionistas, it girls and starlets flocked to the front row, including Rihanna, the label's first black muse. Over at Saint Laurent, creative director Hedi Sliman's latest collection was titled Skin, and there was certainly plenty of it on show as models strutted down the runway in slinky creations that fused metallics and leather to create a rock chic vibe. Among the famous faces spotted, actress Salma Hayek and French icon Catherine Deneuve. Here she is, giving her thoughts on that collection.
These designs have very little embellishment and are very simple. It's very feminine. It's really interesting. It's all Hedi Sliman's vision, and what he's created is very similar to him as a person. People like him keep others around him on their toes.
And one of the most iconic Parisian fashion houses has made a comeback. In its heyday, Courrèges was hailed for its futuristic space-age designs, but the reboot of the cult brand is a move back to basics, a playful nod to 60s silhouettes, a look that its creative directors have dubbed ready to live in. Jenny, what do you think about Courrèges' revival there?
I think it's amazing. I've been waiting for it.
It was...
Yeah, no, it's great because this brand has such a history.
Yeah, definitely. 54 years old, isn't it? So...
Yeah, and it has like the cool factor.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, I was really waiting for it to come back.
Cool. Well, let's talk about your own label, Each Other, which you founded in 2012 with Ilan de Lui. It's described as a collaborative brand where art meets fashion. What does this mean exactly?
I wanted to create a brand. I mean, I was working in art direction magazines like Vogue, Numero for 10 years. And I also ran a gallery for 10 years, parallel.
Okay.
And I just felt like I love guerrilla brands. I love brands like Margiela and Comme des Garçons, and where it's like a little bit mysterious. You don't really know who's behind them, what's going on. So this is what Each Other is about.
Okay, well, for the label's show last week, you worked with artist and poet Robert Montgomery and cultural editor Jefferson Hack. So let's take a quick look. Now, as I understood, this is each other's second Paris Fashion Week show. What does it mean for an emerging label such as yours to participate, to make an appearance there?
It means a lot because I think it just puts the brand out there. Like you get a lot of coverage and attention, and it's great. You have all the editors coming. Like doing a show is just, at one point, if you're a designer, I think you have to do a show.
Yeah, and Paris is one of
it's
the
so
big
important
ones, isn't
also
it?
because I think like the casting, for example, for a show, it's really interesting. I love doing that because I think it puts you like, who's the woman's gonna wear your clothes? You know, it's more than just showing the collection.
Right.
Because it's a whole environment. We did it at Porte Gallery. It's my favorite gallery, one of my favorite galleries in Paris. Mm-hmm. And he also expresses this feeling of like community, family. His team is amazing. The music we picked for the show is so important. It gives a vibe, like what you want to listen to, who's your client.
Right.
So doing a show is just like, it's really important.
Okay, well, unfortunately, it's still rare in the fashion world to have a female at the helm of a label. As a woman, how difficult is it to make your mark in such a male-dominated industry?
Yeah, it's been a tough road.
Oh, really?
For sure. I mean, but I think I'm lucky because I did my studies in America. Like I studied in the US, and there it's a little bit different. So coming back to France in 2002, I was a bit tough. Like I knew I'm worthy, even if I'm a woman. I know I can do a good job. So it was more just about like taking the place, and I don't mind like being. I think I can manage people and give directions and things like this. Things you need to know how to do when you're like a fashion designer.
Yeah.
And so it's great. I love it.
Okay.
And
well,
I encourage other women to do the same.
Of course, I bet. So just quickly, you began your career in art. How did you get your start in fashion then?
I got my start in fashion when I was like 9 years old, picking up my first issue of like Italian Vogue or something.
Oh, wow. Look at you.
No, I was such a fan of fashion when I was a kid already.
Okay.
I was like going to London to buy like crazy fashion, and I was like doing my own fashion and customizing, looking at like Madonna's last like tour and like redoing the same pants.
Okay.
So it's just been forever.
From a
with me.
very young age.
I love fashion. I think it's such a great expression.
Okay. Well, let's talk about a show that grabbed a lot of headlines. I am, of course, referring to Rick Owens, who raised a few perfectly groomed eyebrows earlier this year after showing male models' penises on the runway. This season, he's caused a stir once again, strapping female models to one another to create so-called human backpacks before sending them down the catwalk. Jenny, what are your thoughts on these kinds of antics? A brazen bid for publicity or an artistic political statement, perhaps?
When it's Rick Owens, I think it's even further. Like, I think he's almost like, it's like what we say in French, autodérision.
Okay.
I think it's like, almost like he's beyond it. Because it's too much. I mean, it's not about beauty or fashion or, it's like art.
It's really moved beyond
It's like
clothes.
art. I think it's like when Matthew Barney is putting up a crazy show.
Okay.
So with Rick Owens, I'm fine with it.
Okay.
When it's in between, I'm not so into it.
Fine, okay, fair enough. Well, now to something stunning, but perhaps unwearable, especially if you get caught in the rain. Hussein Chalayan is known for his experimental designs, and for his Spring-Summer 2016 collection, concept and clothing really came together as he pushed the boundaries between fashion and art. Models hit the runway in tailored white jackets, only to stand under a shower head, and as the water made contact with the garments, the coats seemingly melted away to reveal sparkling couture gowns encrusted with Swarovski crystals. Jenny, does each other experiment with cutting-edge technology like that?
No.
No. Perhaps
We're
in the future.
we're very much into like natural fabrics. All our clothes are basically like mono fabrics, like 100% cotton, 100% linen, or 100% silk. We're trying to evoke this idea of like nostalgia about real wardrobe. So we're much more like classic, and I mean for the kind of we're not so into technical fabrics. I mean, I love designers who do that.
Okay.
But I would say we're more about like media, like classic media and classic fabrics and classic textures.
Okay. Well, we have just enough time to check out one more show by Simone Porte Jacquemus, which was titled The Red Nose. Childhood is a recurrent theme for the designer, and this season's show wasn't any different, featuring a giant red ball and a beautiful white horse. It was an avant-garde theatrical affair. Jenny, would you ever consider doing something out of the ordinary for a future show?
I haven't been thinking about it. I'm so classic, actually. I mean, I work with artists. We did the show in the gallery.
Right.
I'm more about bringing people there. I want that guy to come to see my show, to see my collection.
Okay.
I'm doing a lot of marketing. I did that for 15 years. I did advertising for huge brands in my past. So I'm kind of trying to pull away the marketing factor.
Right. Okay, well, Jenny Mannerheim from Each Other, thanks again for coming on the show today. We'll leave you with images from the Simone Porte Jacquemus runway. Do remember our website, plus we're also on Facebook and Twitter. Stay with us here on France 24.